Hello guys, welcome to the channel Pharma Focus. I hope you guys are doing well and I'm back with another video which is in continuation to the GVP module by Ima, and this is going to be part 3 of the GVP module which is regarding the structure and the processes. So let's head to the first topic. Alright, so we have the first topic here, collection of individual safety reports, where the guidelines that are mentioned here involve that the competent authorities and marketing authorization holders, they must collect and collate all the suspected adverse reaction reports. So if we talk about competent authorities, they refer to the national or the regional regulatory bodies who are responsible for ensuring that the medicines they are safe, effective, and of high quality before and after they reach the patients. So these competent authorities, they enforce the vigilance requirements and they ensure that everything complies with the regulations. So if we talk about the examples, then for the competent authorities we have EMA, which is for the European Union level. Then we have Health Canada for Canada. Then we have FDA for US. So basically, competent authorities are the regulators, the regulatory bodies. And if we talk about marketing authorization holders, then these are the companies or organizations that hold the legal right or a license to market and sell a medicine in a given country or a region. So these marketing authorization holders, they are responsible for submitting the marketing authorization applications to CEs, that is the regulatory bodies or competent authorities. Now, they ensure the safety, quality, and efficacy of the product, and the marketing authorization holders are involved in conducting the PV activities and also keeping the product information up to date. So, if we talk about the examples of marketing authorization holders, then it basically includes the pharma companies like Pfizer, Novartis, Sun Pharma, etc. And if we talk about the sources of individual safety reports, then these include the unsolicited reports and the solicited reports. So this is as per ICH E2D, and the annexure is also mentioned here. Apart from that, we will be discussing about the sources in detail in the coming slides, but the basic point here to discuss is what PV system requirements are. So there has to be a sufficient information for scientific evaluation. There has to be an assurance that the reports, they are authentic, legible, accurate, consistent, verifiable, and complete. Thirdly, there has to be um, record and archive data in compliance with the data protection laws. So whatever data we are handling, whether it is going to be recorded or it is going to be archived, the data has to comply with the laws that are set for treating that data. Then it has to enable the validation of ICSRs, that ICSRs, they should be valid, and invalid cases have a different form of case workflow. And then there has to be a support, timely exchange and submission within the legal time frames. So for every regulations and for every kind of reports, there is a proper legal time frame which is set. The reporting requirements, they are being set, so they have to be accordingly done. So let's first discuss about unsolicited or the spontaneous reports. So in simpler terms, these are the reports, the adverse drug reactions that come voluntarily from the healthcare professionals, patients, or caregivers. They are not collected through organized or pre planned programs such as clinical trials, registries, or patient support programs. So, in very simple terms, unsolicited is a voluntary kind of report which is submitted voluntarily by any kind of person. It can include consumers, it can include HCPs, it can include caregivers, etc. And there is no organized system of collecting and collation of reports. Then next we have is the literature reports. So if we talk about the literature reports, then these are the reports about the areas that are found in medical journals, conference abstracts, or other scientific publications. And they're the important source for monitoring drug safety and detecting new or emerging safety issues. So I won't be discussing about the literature reports in pharmacovigilance in detail now, but as we all know, we have PubMed, we have Embase. These are two of the platforms where literature reports they are screened for the adverse drug reactions. So that is what the literature reports in pharmacovigilance is about. And in these cases, the responsibilities of MAH includes regular monitoring. Just like I mentioned, MAHs they have the responsibility to systematically review the medical literature like Medline, Embase, Excerpta Medica at least once a week, and the goal is to spot any safety concerns about the products. Then we have the local journals there where we need to monitor based on the countries wherever the drug is marketed. Then next up we have the assessment where any reports of suspected ADRs found in the literature are reviewed and assessed, and the if report involves a single identifiable patient, then it is recorded as an ICSR. Then on the fourth step we have the causality consideration. This suggests if a publication mentions multiple drugs, only the drugs thought to be possibly linked to the ADR by the authors are considered for the review. So, as per the literature which is listed, at times there are patients who are taking the concomitant drugs as well. So, it depends if there is a possible link to an ADR, it is listed or it is suggested in the literature article or any kind of abstract, then that is possibly considered for the review. Then next up we have the submission. So valid kind of ICSRs, they are submitted according to the regulatory timelines. And in scenarios, if we identify a single patient, then there has to be a one case with all the medical details recorded which are listed in it. The first author or the corresponding author is considered the primary source, and the co-authors they need not to be recorded. But in some cases, if it is essential, then co-authors are recorded. But primary author is considered as the first source, or the first author is considered as the primary source. Then we have the European Union requirements, which states that ICSRs from literature that are not already monitored by regulatory agencies, they must be submitted to ultravigilance. And there is a specific exclusion criteria in which the cases do not need to be submitted. So there is a particular list of exclusion criteria according to which those kind of cases they are not to be submitted to the regulatory authorities. Then why this literature reviewing is important? Because it helps to identify new safety signals. It ensures that the drugs on the market they remain safe and effective, and they maintain the regulatory compliance for the safety reporting. Alright, so this was about the literature reports in pharmacovigilance. Now let's talk about reports from non-medical sources. So what these are the reports of suspected adverse drug reactions that come from non-medical sources such as lay press or other media. So what exactly here refers to for the lay press is any kind of media that is for the targeting of general public, and it is not for the specialized people or for the specialized professionals in a particular field. So the term lay is refers to any kind of publications that are for non-expert audience, and they are not for a specific professional world, such as the medical or the scientific community. So, for example, there is some article which is listed about the adverse drug reaction, but it is not majorly in any kind of literature article or any kind of abstract that is listed on a website that holds the data for the medical data. So, how they are handled. Now, even though source is non-medical, report is managed like a spontaneous report in these cases, and the follow-ups are done by MH in order to try to get more information to make it a valid ICSR if there is an adverse event. And then we have the submission. So once if it is validated that it is an ICSR, then it is to be submitted following the same rules and the guidelines as that of the spontaneous reports. The next up we have the reports of suspected areas from internet or digital media. So these are the kind of reports related to adverse drug reactions that are found online or in digital media, which includes any kind of company websites, social media, apps, or forums, and any other online platforms that are not sourced by the company or not controlled by the company. So I'll be showing the examples in the coming slides regarding the social media suspected area reports. So how they're handled. Now, there has to be regular monitoring. So, the companies, the MAH, they have to regularly check the digital platforms for any kind of possible ADR reports. And the frequency should allow them to submit valid reports to authorities on time. Then, secondly, the collection via websites. Now, MAHs can use their own websites to collect ADR reports from patients or healthcare professionals. So, in some scenarios, you can see that if there is a website for any kind of pharma company, you can obviously check out some of the websites where you can see that there is a particular portal for reporting any kind of adverse effect. So I'll be showing it in the video further regarding this point as well. The next point is the non-company sources. Now, reports from other websites or social media, they should be assessed to see if they qualify as ICSRs. Then, if we talk about the handling, then as per the unsolicited cases, since these are kind of spontaneous reporting only because there is no organized format in such cases, so they are the unsolicited cases from internet or digital media. They are obviously treated as spontaneous reports, and the submission timelines, they are same as spontaneous reports. If we talk about the reporter identifiability, then the reporter has to be real, identifiable person. Maybe example, they are using a valid email. And if the reporter's country is unknown, then use the country where the information was received or reviewed. So why this is important? Because there are some people who post about any kind of side effects or any kind of drugs they are taking and concerns they are having. They report it online and they post it over the social media account. So, this helps us to capture all the potential safety issues from online sources. Again, it ensures the compliance with the regulatory reporting requirements, and then again, it is for the timely detection of new safety signals that are related to any kind of drugs in the market. The next up, we have the solicited report. So, for the first section, we discuss the unsolicited reports where the data is collected spontaneously. It may be through the lay press, maybe through the social media, or any other kind of media. or it may be through the calls, or it may be through someone who is voluntarily reporting about any kind of adverse event. Now we have the solicited reports, where the adverse drug reactions, they are collected from the organized programs or studies, such as the clinical trials, non-interventional studies, or patient registries or patient support programs, then the service of the patients or the healthcare professionals, and the compassionate use or the named patient programs. So if we talk about these in detail, then the clinical trials, as some of you might be already aware, these are the kind of controlled studies, and there are various phases in which these clinical trials are conducted to check the safety and efficacy of the new drug in the patients, and likewise the ADRs are systematically collected from the participants. If we talk about the non-interventional studies, then this is kind of a study where patients, they receive routine care and the drug is used as a usual. And then there are some other specifications which are listed for these kind of studies, and ADRs may still be collected, but the patients, they are not assigned the treatments randomly. So next up we have the patient registries or the support programs. So the patient registries are basically the kind of databases that track the patients with specific conditions over the time, and the outcomes and the safety related to the treatment, they are collected as an information. And the patient support programs are the kind of programs that are provided by the companies to help the patients with medication access, education, or adherence. And ADRs are reported through these programs and they're collected systematically. So, if we talk about the surveys, then it is generally kind of questionnaires or interviews that are asked by the patients about their experience with the drug, including the side effects. And there are some HCP surveys as well for maybe, for instance, you might have observed that sometimes when you're prescribed for the drug by a doctor, then the doctor is concerned on your next visit, and they try to follow up and they try to ask you the questions about how the drug is treating you, or if you're experiencing any kind of adverse drug reaction. So that is a kind of HCP survey. Then we have the compassionate use or the named patient programs. So compassionate use is when any kind of unapproved drug, it is given to the seriously ill patients in conditions when no other treatments are available. So that is a kind of compassionate use. And we have the named patient programs, where the doctor requests a specific unapproved medicine for an individual patient under special regulations. So that is also a case of special regulations. Under special circumstances, only the named patient program is done, and it is specifically done for an individual patient. So ADRs are, again, they are systematically monitored. So if you talk about the example, then it's like if there is some patient, and let's suppose that the patient is diagnosed with a rare cancer and he receives a new kind of experimental therapy before it is officially approved, in cases that the person is experiencing severe symptoms. So just to cure that, doctor has individually um, approved it for under the special regulations. So that is the kind of named patient programs. Then next up we have the key points. So key points are very basic. They are not spontaneous. They are structured data collection systems. Then exceptions are the reports from studies or programs. They are not systematically collected. They may be treated differently. For example, in cases of compassionate use, Then we have the causality assessment. So each report should be assessed to determine if it is a suspected ADR and meet the minimum criteria for ICSR. Then we have the submission where we have valid solicited ICSRs. They are submitted according to the regulatory timelines. And these reports, they follow specific rules for any kind of studies and programs that are listed. So why these kind of studies or non-interventional studies or clinical trials or patient support programs, they're important because again, this is a kind of organized program, but it will help in the potential safety information. Then it will help in assessing the risk benefit of the medicine in controlled and in the real world settings. Then it helps in supporting the regulatory compliance for the drug safety reporting. Then, if I talk about any kind of post marketing registry or any kind of registry drug for which the safety data is collected for the patients, then we have a Revlimid registry, which is for the drug lenalidomide, and it is to monitor its use, effectiveness, and outcome in the real world setting following its approval. It is an ongoing REMS program, so there are studies going on in relation to the this Revlimide in various countries, and you can search about it online about the Revlimid registry and safety data collection, and you will get to know what exactly I'm talking about. Then next up we have, all right, so now we have the examples of the types of reports. So for which the first one is the example of unsolicited report. Now an unsolicited report is a consumer calls up regarding his mother who has been experiencing diarrhea and extreme tiredness after taking amoxicillin. He further added that she had a loss of appetite too. So what consumer is trying to say here is the consumer is the reporter who calls up and who tells that his mother, which is the patient, is experiencing diarrhea, extreme tiredness, and loss of appetite. So all three of them, the diarrhea, extreme tiredness, loss of appetite, these are the adverse effects and on taking amoxicillin. So amoxicillin is the suspect drug here. This is a kind of voluntary reporting because the consumer is calling by himself or herself about the mother who is taking amoxicillin. So this is a kind of example of an unsolicited report. All right, so let's talk about another example. So this is the example of what I was telling you about the social media cases. Now let's read this. So I'm coming up on month 3 of my second round of Accutane, and I think the only side effect I am having is neck pain. I've been pushing through it, but it's rough when I dance, but my skin is clear again, so it's worth it. So what the reporter is the consumer is trying to tell here is that he's on month 3 of second round of Accutane. So for Accutane, it is kind of medication for severe acne, and Accutane is basically isotretinoin, and what he is suggesting is that he's experiencing a side effect which is neck pain. So that might be the side effect, but that might be just kind of evaluation by himself because after all we are not aware if the consumer is an HCP or non-HCP, but this is the kind of scenarios where people they post online or any kind of social media about the side effects or about the drugs they are taking and the side effects they are experiencing. All right, so let's take another example. So this example is regarding another screenshot where the person is saying that I'm in hospital after developing rare heart inflammation linked to some drug or some company name, and even with this side effect I would get the jab again. Side effects can be treated, dying from COVID-19 can't. The benefits far outweigh the risks. So, what the patient is trying to tell here is that being in the hospital, and this is something linked to some kind of drug or company, but the person is experiencing a side effect which is rare heart inflammation. But even though with this side effect, he would be or she would be getting a jab again, because because according to him or her, the dying from COVID-19 is not acceptable, and there are benefits that outweigh the risks. The risk here is the rare heart inflammation, according to the patient. So that's how people post online about their adverse effects or about the things they are experiencing after taking any kind of drug. So both these screenshots were taken from Twitter or X now. So there's another screenshot, so I'm gonna discuss it as well. So this is about a funnier story compared to the rest of side effects I have with my medications. So the person here is talking about, so recently I started talking, or I would say it should be taking, a new medication, and a side effect of this is increased appetite. I don't have too much of an increased appetite, but I'm absolutely feral when it comes to sugar. It's like my body craves sugar more than anything else in the world. This is actually a very new ordeal for me because I used to not have a sweet tooth at all and would be turned off by the sweet foods in all forms. It didn't hit me as a problem until I went 2 days without any form of sugar trying to get ready for my New Year's diet. I couldn't take it and had my mom pick me up a chocolate bar, and I got excited when she brought me one, and then I ran off to my camper and tore into it like a feral gremlin. It only occurred to me halfway through the chocolate bar that perhaps I should have said thank you before running off like a squirrel who just caught a nut. I called her up to thank her, and she laughed at me for 2 minutes straight. Needless to say, I talked to my doctor about this, and she thinks it's a combination of two of my medications causing the random sugar obsession, along with the fact that I just quit smoking. It was a recipe for disaster. So, what person is saying here is about um, a kind of a medication which he has not particularly listed here, but he's talking about a side effect related to one of the medications he's taking, which is the increased appetite. So in these kind of cases, the social media cases, it's most of the things that the consumer or the patient has posted are not really relevant to ICSR, but um, like they post it in form of kind of story, and we need to assess that what was the adverse effect, what was the drug involved, and we need to assess who the patient is. We need to um, assess if the case is qualifying for being a valid ICSR or not. And also, the patient is stating here in the last line, along with the fact that I just quit smoking, it was a recipe for disaster. So, what person is saying here that he quit smoking. So, that is a kind of positive effect which he thinks that he's experiencing after taking the medication. The next up is again a serious side adverse effects personal story. Now, this is very big story, but let's read it out. So I wanted to share my personal experience here with Wegovy and the decision to discontinue before reaching my goal. Here is my background: female, 36, SW 230, CW 199, GW 175. I started on June 6th and I just finished my fourth dose on 2.4 mg on 11/16. I have no prior health conditions and do work out 3 to 5 times a week. I consider myself an overall healthy person. So if we look at the first para, then we get an idea that the person is taking a drug, is deciding to discontinue it, and apart from that, um, she has listed about her particulars, that is the female 36, and then when she started the drug and when she finished the fourth dose, at what concentration, what strength, and what date. And also, it is stating that it has no prior health conditions and she works out 3 to 5 times a week. The next paragraph we have, I have had a decent success and no side effects on my early 6 month journey, that is up until this past week. I started having really bad bloating and stomach aches out of the blue. I would assumed to be it was just my first time having the classic semi-gas stomach issues. Fast forward 24 hours and they are all gotten worse, and my sister convinced me to go to the ER. Now I'm so glad that she did because they discovered I had appendicitis and have to had an emergency appendectomy. It was a great way to spend Thanksgiving, jokes aside. They also found my CT scan had developed gallstones and gallbladder sludge. This was shocking considering I haven't had any pain indicating such and no side effects prior to the appendix situation. So, not saying Wegovy caused the appendicitis, but it is listed in the uncommon side effects. The nurse who prescribed me Wegovy on Push Health said I can stay on it and just monitor the situation, but I'm not comfortable doing so and risking losing my gallbladder and undergoing another major surgery. I'm disappointed because I was excited about getting closer to my goal weight and a weight that is healthy, but I really feel I can't justify continuing taking it at this point. Plus, I have been paying out of the pocket and the cost has been a bit of burden financially. So, the summary of the story is I got appendicitis, gallstones, and decided to discontinue Wegovy use. Pay attention to your symptoms because severe adverse effects are unlikely, but they do happen. So, this is a kind of story which a female has listed here, and this is very detailed one, a detailed one enough to maybe create a case for the same. So these are the kind of examples that are listed on the various websites. So this screenshot was taken from Reddit. Then next up we have examples of literature reports. So if we talk about the literature reports, as you can see on my screen, we have nimesulide induced acute hepatitis. So if we talk about the abstract, so this is to report the occurrence of nimesulide-induced acute hepatitis that is confirmed by biopsy and an in vitro lymphocyte toxicity assay. So this is the kind of case summary. Then we have the discussion, and then we have the conclusion. And we have another example where there is a very rare side effect of a very commonly used drug, which is pantoprazole-induced seizures. And this is again the abstract of the same, where it is listed that pantoprazole is behind a very rare side effect. Then again, this is something which is related to the lay media, but this is a kind of in the form of an article, but this is the drug safety issue which is covered by lay media. So this is regarding that. As you can see, newspaper articles covering drug safety issues communicated through 387D HPCs are published between 2001 and 2015 were retrieved for LexisNexis Academic. So this is about some drug reactions, drug safety issues which are listed in the newspaper articles, and there is a complete an article which is published about the same. Okay, alright, so that brings me to the end of the video, wherein if you have any questions or queries, you can email me at this. And in the coming video, I will be talking in detail about these sources, about the kind of reports, the ICSRs, how we need to assess them, and I will try to give you an insight of how we capture the adverse events, how we assess any kind of report, any kind of research article that we are looking into. And likewise, you can practice for the same. You can practice for assessing, and you can practice for the case narratives as well going forward. So I hope you guys like the video, and if you want such more such videos, then do subscribe to my channel, and I'll be coming up further with more PV related videos and content. I hope you guys like it. So stay tuned and thank you.